All right, today we're going to be talking about Springboard Activity 1.14. This is a great story. Our goals for the day: analyze how conflicts in a story advance the plot's rising action and climax. Remember last time we were looking at that story, the plot diagram. We're going to be looking at conflict kind of as our focus today because there's some conflicts in this story. Once again, we always have something to do as we read. Remember, you can use the highlight feature up here to highlight text. As you read the story, mark the elements of the exposition. That's the setting, character, and that's the beginning of the story, and the major events in the story. Circle or highlight unknown words and phrases. Try to determine the meaning of words using context clues, word parts, or a dictionary. So this is by an author named Sandra Cisneros, and the story is called 11. It's one of my favorites. Hopefully at some time we'll be able to read this one together. It's one of my favorite stories to read. So after you read the story, here's what you're going to be doing. So question number 1 says, what can you infer? Remember, inference is that educated guess using context clues and details can infer about the conflict of the story. How is it both internal and external? So how is this main conflict both an internal problem and an external problem? Number 2, how does Cisneros show the transition from one event to another? So remember those transition words, you're going to be looking for something maybe like next or also, then. Okay, so look for the time frame of this story goes through all the different pieces. Number 3, what is the effect of a sentence that repeats short phrases such as not mine, not mine, not mine? How does this sentence type help develop the story? This will make much more sense after you read the story. Number 4, how does Cisneros' use of figurative language and sensory detail demonstrate Rachel's emotions? There are some excellent figurative language in this story. If you go back through and look for any of those similes and metaphors, then you will be able to answer this question. Number 5, what can you infer about Rachel's teacher, Mrs. Price, based on her dialogue with Rachel? This has some pretty strong feelings usually for students. So what can you infer about Rachel's teacher? So what inference can you make about her? And you need to support that with evidence from the text. And number 6, summarize how the conflict is resolved. I forgot to put a box there, so you can put that in the My Notes section over here. Yeah, that'll fit. That'll fit in the My Notes section right here. Graphic organizer here at the bottom. So she has several conflicts. So list the conflicts, and if the conflict is resolved. Resolved means, does the conflict get solved? Okay? Some of them do, some of them don't. The story involves several conflicts, both external to Rachel and internal. Briefly summarize 2 or 3 of these conflicts and tell whether or how each of these conflicts is resolved. So you're going back to this chart, pick 2 or 3 of them, talk about it and how they are resolved. Summarize the theme of the story. Okay, what does the author learn? What can we learn from the author? Or what happens in the story? What is that big idea that I almost said main idea. Main idea is for informational text. So theme is for narrative texts. What theme can we find here? And then we have another plot diagram. We should be good at these. I promise we won't be doing many more of these. For this story, you're going to be doing plot diagram for 11. And then kids usually have fun with this. So in a Word document, you'll also be attaching to this assignment. It says, make a brief dialogue between Rachel and another person in the story. Most people choose either one of the girls or the teacher. Focusing on one conflict from the text. Use the same exposition, but change the rise in action and climax. Consider having Rachel talk to her teacher about the misunderstanding, or Rachel having Rachel confront Phyllis about not claiming the red sweater. Be sure to sequence events logically to focus on a conflict to develop the rise in action and climax. Use dialogue and dialogue tags. That's Rachel said or I said if you're doing first-person story. So I said, Sylvia said, Mrs. Price said. And use figurative language and varied syntax. Okay, so figurative language, those similes and metaphors are the easiest, and varied syntax is the way that you are forming sentences. Just try not to be repetitive in the way that all your sentences are short or long, change them up. Okay, and then you'll be attaching this to this assignment as well. All right, thanks guys.